I'm Hillman Shay, the Midlife Empowerment Coach, and today I am thrilled to introduce our guest, Bonnie Hillman Shay. Bonnie is a certified photo organizer and has been curating large printed photo collections for 14 years. The people who retain her services feel overwhelmed with their printed photo collections and don't know what to do or where to start. Bonnie makes her clients' photos available, manageable, enjoyable, shareable, safe, and secure for now and for generations to come. Bonnie loves helping her clients, and they often tell her that she works magic for them. They're truly amazed at what she does for them and their photo collections. So, Bonnie, welcome. I cannot wait to hear your 6 steps to organize and share your printed photos.
Great to be here, Ellen. Thank you so much, and glad for your viewing audience that we're here together. And everybody, you might want to have pen and paper to take notes because there's good stuff, but you'll have something at the end that we can share with you so that you have some handouts as well. Okay, Ellen, can you see my screen, please?
I can. Thank you.
All right, we're ready to go. So I would like to ask you one question. You're going to have a one-word answer from me, because I want to set the stage for what I'm going to talk about today. So, Ellen, if you were forced to flee your house in an emergency, would it be safe to say that after you collected your family members, other loved ones, and your pets, you would reach for your photo collection?
Absolutely. Yes, I cannot imagine leaving without those.
Exactly. So to me, your answer alone explains why I do what I do. Photos represent our life story, and you want them to be available to enjoy and not at risk of being damaged or lost. And there seem to be more and more natural disasters happening these days, like the crazy weather impact in Texas, and you can't predict that, so we want to be prepared. So to me, you have 3 related photo experiences in your life. First, photos link you to previous generations as you view your parents' photo collections and learn about your ancestors. Then you have your own collection that you browse through to recall fun times and life events. And then photos are a part of the legacy you will leave for your kids, grandkids, and more. So to me, it makes sense that we treasure our photos and feel sad if we're not currently enjoying them. Maybe they are hiding in boxes in a closet, or they are spread out all over your house, and because there are so many, you feel stuck and overwhelmed about them. I want to describe 3 possible challenges that you may have with photos, and then we're going to address those in my step process. Maybe you have the mountain of loose photos that you never did anything with, and now you're not sure what to do or what to do with them. Maybe over the years, you put your photos into albums that are now sitting on a shelf and you haven't been looking at them in a long time. And maybe sooner or later, you will move to a smaller house and won't have the room for all of these albums to be sitting on a shelf. And then maybe you inherited your parents' collection and you are not sure how to preserve and share the photos with other family members, especially when you don't know who many of the people are in the photos. So maybe whatever your photo challenge you're faced with is, this is how you might be feeling. You're overwhelmed, you're paralyzed, like, I don't know where to go. The good news is you are here today, joining us live or listening to the recording. And by the end of my presentation, you'll have a series of practical steps and techniques to take care of your printed photos. So let's jump right into my 6-step process and let's go. Step 1. I'm going to ask you a question. Do you know how many photos you have? Most likely not, because your photos have been hiding in various places in your house and you haven't looked at them in a long time, possibly. So step number 1 is to centralize all of the photos you have, loose or in albums and boxes, you name it. But we want to get it into one place so you can see them all. Hopefully you might have a spare bedroom, a guest room, a table, a closet, or some other space where you can collect all of your photos and put them together. Look all through your house and find where those photos are hiding. Maybe play hide and seek with your photos and try to find them. Once the photos are all together, you now have a better idea of how many photos you have and you will have a good visual of what there is to work on. It's sort of like not an imaginary friend anymore. It's right there. So you gather them together, and to get ready for more steps, I suggest you pull together some helpful tools. Photo-safe pencils are really nice for writing on the backs of the photos. Don't use a Sharpie pen or a pen that might leak, because that could deteriorate your photos. Sticky notes are really helpful for writing notes and writing ideas on the front or the back of the photos. Large index cards are really helpful, and I'll tell you why in a little bit. I use the 5 by 8 inch size and colorful. And then empty storage boxes for sorting. Don't worry about them being beautiful boxes or archival or anything at this point. They're basically a work in process tool, just boxes that will help you sort things and categorize as you go through it. So you have your photos in one place, you have your tools, and now we're ready to sort photos. I'll presume your photos are not in any particular order, so you would want to sort them. And I find as human beings, we'd like to see our story unfold over time. So sorting your photos in a general chronological order is the best way to start. I don't expect you to sort it in a perfect chronological order, as often dates weren't printed on photos or they were misprinted on photos. Rather, I would suggest you keep in mind a general flow of your chronological order so that your story flows through time. It's like, you have a baby, they grow up and they're born and they grow up. That's sort of what we like to see. Keep in mind, if you're sorting through your photos and you get stumped by some of the photos because you're not sure where they fit in the chronology, don't worry about it. Put them aside and you'll come back to them when you're going through it a second time. Don't worry, you don't want to get stuck early on. We want to keep you going forward. So you're going to take every box or envelope or any sort of container of photos, and you're going to sort them out in a system. You'll want to get into a rhythm, and you want to sort of make some progress so you'll feel better that you're actually sorting. So keep in mind, if you're working on a lifetime of photos, you won't finish your project in one day. It took you years to accumulate these photos, so it's going to take you time to get through what you want. So I suggest you be realistic with your expectations of how long it's going to take and chunk it up. Choose a bit to do each day and you'll be making progress. So next step is you've now sorted your photos. They're in a general chronological order. There might be some outliers that you're not sure about, and that's okay. This is not about perfection, it's about progress. So now we want to edit your collection. You have boxes and boxes, but we want to edit them. And some people think, well, I need to keep them all. And I'm like, I suggest you edit them instead of keeping them all. Typically, you have a large collection, and I suggest you focus on quality over quantity. I'm going to say that again. Think of quality over quantity. Most people have many more photos than they would make sense to keep and to try and manage and enjoy. Think about choosing the best of the best in your collection. It's like the highlights of your life. And I'll give you some really helpful decision-making choices to come up with this best of the best. But we really want to come up with the best quality and not worry about trying to keep every single photo. So here are some decision-making help. Duplicates. Raise your hand if you added on an extra set of prints at the photo lab because it was either free or it was 99 cents. Like, yeah, hello. Well, we thought it was a helpful concept back then, and now it's making life a little harder. So let's remove those exact duplicates. You only need one copy going forward. So we want to isolate the duplicates, and you will probably throw them away. I know, I'm telling you to throw them away. Let's offer an option that you might have some fun with these duplicates. How about mailing some to friends and family? The surprise of getting an old photo in the mail these days is great fun. So put a Post-it note on the pictures that you want to mail. You'll build a little pile here, and then you'll do a mailing session someday. But that could be fun. Next, besides exact duplicates, or actually two copies of the same exact frame, you may have redundant content. Maybe you took a large group photo of your family at Thanksgiving, and so you had to take 15 shots because there were 15 people and you wanted to make sure you got one. Well, hold on to the best one or the best two if there's sort of some compromised ones, and let go of the rest. We don't need all 15 group photos. We need the best. Then we want to talk about edit out poor quality. What do I mean by that? Well, poor quality could be photos that people were blinking in, photos that were blurry, they weren't focused properly, maybe they were unflattering to you or to anybody else, and they were poorly composed. Maybe someone's head was, chopped off and not composed well. So I suggest that you treat such items like blurry and similarly inferior photos like junk mail. Throw them out, just like you do junk mail over the recycling container. You just throw out junk mail, because we want you to leave room for the winners, the real best ones. I know that throwing a photo may sound sacrilegious to you, but think of this: by removing photos from your collection, you will have a better story to enjoy, and your story won't get diluted. Let me also mention that, actually, I'm going to move on. Sorry. Okay, so we've edited out poor quality, and now I'm giving you to the last editing step or option is to edit the best to keep and to scan, which we'll do next. So by now you've removed the obvious photos to remove, but now you want to only keep the best. So for example, maybe you have 60 good photos of your daughter's 3rd birthday party. Do you really want all 60, or could you narrow it down to, let's say, 20 or 30, just for conversation's sake? That would be good. Also, let's say you went on a great trip. You went to a European trip, and so you have lots of scenery photos. You have the Eiffel Tower, you have the Mona Lisa, you have every picture of every scenery, but there's no people standing in front of the scenery. To me, those are much less meaningful and valuable than the people in the scenery. So if you have a picture of yourself in front of the Eiffel Tower, keep it. That's golden. But just the Eiffel Tower, do we really need it? So scenery without people, I would suggest definitely edit, maybe not completely, but lightly, because you sort of want to keep maybe a few photos so that you know where you were, but you don't need every little scenery photo. So what have we done in the editing part? We've removed duplicates, we've removed redundant content, we've removed poor quality, and we've chosen the best to keep. We're looking good here. So step 5, now that you have your collection and you're deciding this is the best of the best, we want to scan them. There are several benefits in scanning your photos. To me, the photos now are available to share with anybody that you want. You can email them, you can text them, you can do lots of stuff with them. Also, scanning technology improves the quality and the color of your images. So believe it or not, the digital copy of that photo will look better and closer to the original quality and color of the photo than this deteriorated version you have. And lastly is you now have a backup of your photo story in case anything were to happen with the original printed photos. And you'll sleep better at night knowing this. It's sort of like an insurance policy. So scanning, to me, there's sort of 2 ways to scan. Maybe you want to scan. Maybe you want to scan yourself, and maybe you want to decide you want to decide what to scan, and then you want to decide who's going to scan. So deciding what to scan, we pick the best of the best. You may be in a position that you only want to do a subset of the collection. It's your choice, but just keep that in mind. Or maybe you want to do a sampling and see how it goes. Then let's see who's going to do it, you or someone else. I can just tell you from personal experience, scanning could be a tedious and laborious process to do it right and to produce high quality results. Most people don't have the technology to scan their photos or the interest to do it, so they outsource it, and that's great. Speaking of which, though, I want to give you some caution. There are many choices in scanning companies. I want to strongly recommend that you work with a local company where you live so that you aren't putting your photos at risk by shipping them somewhere around the country, or worse yet, overseas. We want them to be safe and secure. I'm lucky I live in the Chicago area, so there's lots of choices, and I stay local. Also, where you take them to be scanned, make sure that they actually scan them in-house, that they're not shipping them off somewhere else to do it. because I want to minimize risk to your collection. So think about this. After the scanning is complete, you will now have a digital copy of the printed photos you had scanned. Yahoo! One more step, which is really fun and really is all about your story. But first, I'm going to show you the results of what you've just done, and then we're going to get to the last step. So I'm going to show you what I've done on a client's photos just to give you the visual perspective. This is the before picture of my client's mess. And I don't say that in a critical fashion or judgmentally. This is what they told me. This, Bonnie, this is my photo mess. Take it away. So there's tubs, there's boxes. You can see there's envelopes, there's size, small, large, you name it. There's everything in these boxes. I built and took the mess and I sorted them. This is what the chronological order, the filing system that I mentioned earlier, looks like. I edit out the duplicates, the redundant photos, and the poor quality. And so this, I have one more final pass of editing the content to choose what to be scanned. I started with about 14,000 printed photos. Yes, 14,000 printed photos, and you have sitting in front of you about 8,000. So that's where I was in the editing process. Then I scanned the photos on my professional grade scanning equipment, and including color correcting so that they look awesome. And so now if you think about those 8 boxes in the prior slide, they now have been digitized and scanned, and I can hold in the palm of my hand that external hard drive that has the 8,000 scans. So think about it, 8 boxes versus a palm in my hand, pretty awesome. We've reduced the size of the mess. And then what I did was I took that 8 boxes and I turned it into 3 really nice archival photo safe boxes so that the printed photos that are stored in there won't be deteriorated any further. And so now, besides having a beautifully curated collection that has been scanned, the printed photos take up much less room in my clients' houses in these boxes than in the tubs and tubs that they gave me. For me, it feels great when I deliver such a collection to my clients, and of course, they are thrilled with the results. What I do for their photos is almost like magic. And in my mind, I'm delivering the gift that keeps on giving because their collection is now available and shareable, manageable, and enjoyable for generations to come. Now we really are at step 6. And to me, photos, as we mentioned, they're your story. They're photographs, but they're your story. So if you followed all of the previous steps I've talked about, you would have your printed photos in nice boxes and the scans on your computer and or an external hard drive. I think people find the most rewarding way to use their photos is to tell their story. And there are lots of ways. I'm going to share 3 different ways that you could enjoy. So number 1 is design and print a photo book. Maybe you've done this for a trip or for a graduation or for a party. There's so many companies that you can call on to help you, so many websites to actually produce a photo book. And to me, something tangible to hold in your hand, not just look on as a computer and a digital file, there's nothing like it. You have a party at your house, you can pass it around, especially at a graduation party or anniversary party. It's a conversation starter. It's telling the story and people can talk about it. It's awesome. Another crazy way, low tech, but it's crazy and fun, is take a subset of those scanned photos and throw them in this kind of hostess tray and put it somewhere in your home. So when you have your kids or your grandkids come over, they can come and they can see these photos and they can touch them and hold them and ask you stories and you can tell stories about them. How many parents of ours, and I'm not being critical, but our parents said, don't touch the photos, you'll get your fingerprints on them. And so it sort of took us away from our photos. But now that we've scanned them and they're safe, we can say, touch those photos, love them, hug them, ask stories, ask and tell stories. And then my last suggestion is something that I've done professionally, but I realized anybody could do it and it was just golden. A client of mine asked me to audio tape their mom telling stories about the photos that we were looking at. And so I did. I audio taped, and what I did was I took the digital photos with the audio tape and I created a movie in iMovie. It's not a high quality, not a professional gig. You may not know about iMovie. And I made these little 1 to 3 minute snippets of video of the mom audio taping and talking about the photos that they were seeing. The client, they watched them all together and they just were awesome. They have the mom's voice and they have their stories and little snippets. So you can do this. Take your phone, just use the voice memo on your phone and tape yourself talking about a photo. It's awesome. Another way. So my last thing to share with you is I've shared 6 steps of how to do this, but I want you to have fun. And some people might think, oh my gosh, this is so overwhelming. It's so tedious. What can I really do? It's really hard. I want you to have fun. And a big way to have fun with this is to do this with someone else, not alone. You could do it with a friend, a sibling, a parent, a child, and of course, a professional organizer like me. We're all over the country, available for people to work with. So aren't most things more fun to do with a buddy and an accountability partner? They're awesome. So think about going through your photo collection can bring a lot of joy if you enjoy the journey and reminisce and enjoy the photos you come across. So doing that with another family member or friend can really be satisfying besides productive. Take the effort one step at a time and enjoy the treasure journey of telling your story. And that's my presentation, Ellen.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Let me put us back in gallery view. Thanks so much for sharing so many rich tips here. And we have a number of questions. So let me get right to them because I know everybody's excited to hear from you. Karen asks about duplicates. She says, aren't they good if you have 2 kids?
Very good question, Karen. If you're wanting to share the printed photos with your kids, absolutely. Absolutely. There's no doubt about it. Sometimes people get paralyzed trying to sort their photos out for their kids. And it's like, but if there are 2 kids in both photo, which kid do you give it to? So that's the beauty of digitizing your collection, because then you don't have to choose who gets and who doesn't. So if you give everybody a digitized copy, you can have fun with duplicates just that way. Absolutely.
Lauren asks, what do you do with old albums and pictures that can't be removed because they are stuck to the page?
Awesome question. And as a professional photo organizer, me and my colleagues, we cry when we sometimes see these sticky magnetic album pages. The only ones we really like are the ones that have completely dried up and you shake the album and the photos just come out. And then there's the ones that they hold on for dear life. So I'll give you a little tip that may help. Dental floss, because dental floss you can get under a corner and slowly, shortly do, right? Another use for dental floss, who knew? But if they're really stuck, Lauren, then there are scanning people like me or scanning companies that have flatbed scanners and you actually can just scan the whole picture. You don't want to put the sticky part on, but there's ways that we can work around and you see the whole page and you don't have to worry about taking the pictures off the page.
Wow. Yeah, that's great. I love the floss idea. That's very cool. Let's see. So I love the tip about doing it with somebody else. And I wanted to ask you about professional organizers. I imagine a lot of people can call themselves a professional photo organizer. I know there's an association I believe you belong to. Like if somebody were somewhere not in Chicago, Bonnie's in Chicago, so you could call on her. How do they find somebody who's a qualified and experienced professional photo organizer?
Absolutely. The association we have is called the Photo Managers. So it's thephotomanagers.com. And there's a specific option on our website that you can find an organizer that's near you, and you can sort by zip code, you can sort by specialty, because maybe you want someone to help you on printed photos. Sometimes you want them to help you on digital photos or to make a photo book. We have lots of specialties. So absolutely. And if you really get stuck, at the end, we'll share my information. I'd be happy to reach out to me and I can help you find someone to match your needs. But there is a website and there's educational tools too that are available to the public that you could add on to the information that I shared with you educationally today.
Oh, perfect. Karen asks, is it better quality to have the negatives converted to digital? Not sure. if that's a thing.
Karen, you're asking awesome questions. So the answer to that is, if you wanted the best quality scan and you had the photo and you had the negative of the same image, you would get a better scan with the negative. It's just the nature of the process. But you get an awesome scan from the print, and it's typically less expensive because a small negative has to be scanned at a larger resolution, and it's just more tedious, and they have to take it from a negative to a positive image. So it's just more involved.
Right.
So I basically suggest all my clients, we never scan negatives unless they don't have the prints from those negatives. So that's the only option. Or if someone's really like almost a professional photographer and they just are crazy in a good way about the quality and they're fine spending the extra money on scanning negatives, then that's an option. So they're all options.
Great. Lori says, your end product is pristine, but I have so many large portraits that just wouldn't fit. What do you do about those?
Well, there are different kinds of scanners and scanning companies that can go ahead and scan something. I actually have a special scanner that I scan something in portions, and then there's a software program that stitches them together and it looks like it was one scan. So don't discount that you could possibly have it done. Usually they're harder when they're framed because they're behind glass, but there are ways, and technology is on our side to figure it out.
Okay. Karen asks, what kind of scanning machine would you recommend? I guess if somebody were going to invest in that.
There is not, I would have to say, a not great option for general consumers. Me and my colleagues, we have professional grade, which does the quality that we want. And we have the kind that you can actually feed a photo through, like almost like a Xerox machine. So you can like keep going. Most of the scanners in the general consumer public are what we call flatbed scanners. So it's like a lid, you put the picture down, you close the lid and you scan it. It works, but it makes it really slow.
Yeah.
So I'm not an expert on the brands of those because I'm not in the market for buying them, but I would just caution you that they can be very tedious, and maybe check a local scanning company by you and see how it compares cost-wise. And if your time is valuable and you can't spend the hours and hours, you could have someone else do it. You do the hard part on your end, but then they do the easier part for them.
And then Rebecca wants to know, where do we purchase archival photo safe boxes?
Bags Unlimited is a place that I like to buy some of all my kinds of storage stuff. So bagsunlimited.com. The Container Store has some as well. I would just stay away from plastic ones because they take up a lot more room, and I think you really want paper, cardboardy, but archivally safe. Archival Methods is another option. A lot of my colleagues use them. So you could even just search archival boxes for photos and you'll probably get some more answers too.
Yeah, okay, great. Lori, I know that the topic today is printed photos, but we've had several questions, including this one from Lori about your thoughts on digital organization, including iPhone everyday pictures.
Absolutely. I have done it in the past. I'm not currently doing it because I'm really worried about the printed photos that are the greatest risk of being lost. But if you go to the photo managers, there are lots of people who that's all they do every day is digital photo organizing, because now every day you have 100 new photos and it keeps going, keeps growing. So we want to catch you up on what you have behind you and get you ready. So a lot of these tips are sort of similar in terms of editing and sorting and stuff, but obviously it's a different platform. It's digital. So
yeah, I would think you want to, if you're taking lots of snapshots, I'm sure I could go through my iPhone and remove half of the photos on there at least. And then, but the idea is, I'm assuming to, move them over to an external drive and do the whole process like what you talked about with printed photos.
Right. And backup is, if I can't say this enough, backup is really critical, because if you lose a phone or lose a hard drive or a computer crashes, so backup Sure.
Let's see, what else did I have? So what about non-photo items like concert tickets or things like that? Do you scan those too if you're going to end up, doing an album, like a photo album of some sort?
You could, absolutely. I mean, I focus on photographic stuff, but memorabilia as its own, could be its own topic. Obviously, if they're two-dimensional, they're easier to scan. And if you want to use that content, absolutely.
Okay. Karen wants to know your rates, and I think for that, I'm assuming we'll, suggest that maybe she have a consultation with you. How does that work if somebody's interested in working with you?
Well, I know you're going to share my website and a link later for a goodie that we're going to give everybody. But you can go to my website and schedule a 15-minute complimentary phone chat with me. And there we could go a little deeper in what you're wanting to, what your hopes and dreams are and what you need. And I can get you in the next direction.
Okay. Lori wants to know, how did you get interested in this? This is such a unique niche and you have the skills.
Oh, what a nice question. So my former husband, we're both very good friends still, but he had a photo business, which I managed for 25 years. And when we decided to go our separate ways, I needed to come up with my own business or something to do because he's the photographer. And so I decided to be a residential organizer because I knew since I was born, I'm an organized person. They're in my genes, being organized, no matter what it is. So I started a business. And my first client, we went from room to room to, declutter and organize. And we came across that closet that was filled with tubs and boxes and albums of photos. And she said, Bonnie, can you help me with this? And a light bulb moment, because I just worked in a photo business for 25 years and I had the organizing genes. Why not put them together and do photo organizing? So I started with her, and then of course came across, when I was Googling something related to it, found the photo managers and realized, wow, there's an industry, and it was actually just born. We're going to have our 10th annual conference next year. So I'm not alone. There's many of us, but what a terrific, so that's how I decided so I let go of my residential organizing work about 3 years ago because I'm just loving the photo business so much and helping people with their stories.
This is so perfect because Amy Boehm, I don't know how to pronounce Boehm. I think
Yes.
you know her. She said, I'm in desperate need of help for my photos. I came in during the middle of this, but I need your help. You have helped me organize my house years ago.
Yep.
Yeah, there she goes. Yeah, Amy, Bonnie's your gal. So, and Lori appreciates you sharing your story, and she loves it. Says, "Wow, love that." So,
Thank you.
So yeah, the kismet of how these things happen, right? And you figure out where you're meant to go with so many talents and experience behind you. So,
well, and I'll mention, Ellen, that in my organization, I forget how many members we have now, maybe up to 1,000, that many of them were former scrapbooking kind of people. Because people used to make these 12 by 12 gorgeous scrapbooks. They're not making them so much anymore. We're doing them digitally, but it's storytelling and it's working with people and loving creativity. So it's another great combination of skills that's in my organization.
Yeah, fabulous. I love the idea of mailing photos to family and friends, although I feel guilty about that. Like, I feel like maybe I'm passing the buck. Like, my junk is your treasure kind of thing. And then here, you have the photos. So it's like, I don't know. So that's I like it in concept. I'd feel a little guilty, I think, if I were suddenly to like push all my loose photos. Let me just send them to you. But I have to say, my friend Lisa did this when she was cleaning out all her photos, and she sent me photos of our kids when they were little and they grew up together. And it was such a pleasure to look at this because, like you say, I mean, I actually have some albums and I've not looked at them in years from when my kids were little. So,
Right.
yeah. No.
Right. Yeah. And we see people post, scans of, like, I'm on a Facebook page with my high school, and people have been, showing pictures from elementary school, and we're having a great time naming who's in the pictures, not just the class photos, like actual, photos. And so it's just, and maybe we just appreciate all those details and memories that are really special and really to treasure.
Well, we could keep going and going. I know there's so much here to unpack, and you've got such a wealth of experience and knowledge. Really appreciate it. I would love to let everybody know how they can reach you. We're going to put your website in the comments, and you can set up a 15-minute consult for free with Bonnie. And also, Bonnie's got a wonderful gift for us today. So I will be putting the link to that. But why don't you tell us a little bit more about that?
I will, and I think it actually addresses, was it Karen's question? Someone asked about digital. So anyways,
Yes.
I do a monthly digital newsletter that I share all kinds of tips for digital and for printed collections. So if you would like to subscribe to that, you go to my website and then we'll give you the actual link. And by subscribing to my newsletter, I give you the top 12 ways to organize your printed and digital photo collections. So I think I have 6 tips for printed, which will be similar to what I've done today, and then 6 that will sort of get you started and get you thinking about your digital collection. So I'd love to, send that to everybody as you subscribe to my digital newsletter, and then you can get every month something new that I can share with you.
That is fabulous. Thank you so much. That's so generous of you to share that with the audience. Special thanks to Bonnie for sharing your expertise. And if you enjoy these videos, please watch for more coming every week. And until then, be well and stay safe, everyone. Bye.
And thanks, Ellen.